So in this lesson, we are going to be learning all about congruent triangles. So, chapter 10, understand the concept of congruent triangles. This is lesson 2 following Meet Triangle parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the learning goals for today is understand the concept of congruent triangles, and master the representation methods of congruent triangles, as well as understand and master the properties of congruent triangles. Understand the concept of corresponding sides and corresponding angles, and being able to accurately find the corresponding sides and corresponding angles of congruent triangles. Feel the experience of congruent triangles through observations. So observe and think. What are some features you can see from the sizes in the following pairs? So as you can see right here, we see two little girls on what seems like a scooter of some kind. 3 oak leaves, this cool symbol right here, and then a blue ribbon. And finally, we see triangles. What do you think matters in between the sides of each thing in these pairs? So now let's learn all about the definition of congruent figures. Question 1. Observe and think. What are the characteristics of the two shapes in each group? Question 2. Observe and think. What are the characteristics of the two shapes in each group? So here's the conclusion. Definition of being congruent. Two figures that can completely, so these are two main points you want to write down in your notepad right now. So one is two figures that can completely overlap are called congruent figures. So complete overlap means no more, no less, exactly that much and in that shape and that size. Remember, the color of how it looks doesn't matter, just matters the size. And the congruent properties are that two figures that are congruent, their sizes are completely equal. The definition and properties of congruent triangles. As in the figures above, if when stacking triangle ABC on triangle DEF completely overlap, they are called congruent triangles. When two congruent triangles are overlapped, the overlapping vertices are called corresponding vertices, and the overlapping edges are called the corresponding edges, and the overlapping angles are called the corresponding angles. Can you point out the corresponding vertices, sides, and angles of the above two congruent triangles? So what this slide here is saying is when you stack two triangles together and you see that they are congruent, the pairs of vertices that are on top of each other are corresponding vertices. The pairs of edges that are overlapping each other are called corresponding edges, and the angles that are overlapping each other are called corresponding angles. So these are other two very important definitions you'll have to memorize in your notepad. Okay, so now let's look at the representation of congruent figures. Congruent is represented by the sign of congruent 2, read as congruent 2. So if you see this in between two triangles or two figures, you can read them as, say, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle FDE. And you may want to try to write this symbol a few times, say 3 times, on your notepad just to get the hang of it. Notice, when remembering that two triangles are congruent, The letters representing the corresponding vertices usually are written in the corresponding position. So if point A right here in triangle ABC and point F in triangle FDE overlap each other, if they overlap each other, then they would be in the same place when writing it out. Same with points B, C, and D, E. And notice how we said usually. So on a problem, if they don't do it this way, do not be confused. So let's look at this problem. As shown in the figure, if triangle BOD is congruent to triangle COE, angle B is equal to angle C. Point out the corresponding sides of these two congruent triangles. If triangle ADO is congruent to triangle AEO, point out the corresponding angles of these two triangles. So we're going to do this problem together. The corresponding sides of triangle BOD and triangle COE are BO and CO, OD and OE, BD and CE. Easy enough. The corresponding vertices of triangle ADO and triangle AEO are angle. This part is not supposed to be vertices, angles. In any other part it says vertices, it would be angles. So then triangle angle DAO and angle EAO, angle ADO and angle AEO, angle AOD and angle AOE. Those are the corresponding angles of triangle ADO, and triangle AEO. Now, what is the rule for finding corresponding edges and corresponding angles? Please use a pair of self-made congruent triangles to spell out figures with common vertices or common sides or common angles. Use congruent symbols to represent them. Analyze each figure and find the corresponding sides and corresponding angles. So corresponding sides, right here, corresponding vertices, you can see them right here. So here's a conclusion. If there is a common side, the common side is the corresponding side. If there is a common angle, vertical angles, remember about vertical angles in a few chapters ago, the common angle, vertical angles, is the corresponding angle. The largest side and the largest side of each triangle, or the smallest side and the smallest side, are corresponding sides. The largest side and the largest angle and the largest angle of each triangle, or the smallest angle and the smallest angle of each triangle, are the corresponding angles. The opposite of the corresponding angle is the corresponding side, the opposite corner, the opposite angle of the. This should not be corner, that is very unmathematical, sorry. The opposite angle of the corresponding side is a corresponding angle. So properties of being congruent. So what does it mean to be congruent? So we are initially given that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DF. So AB would equal to DE, AC would equal to DF, and BC would be equal to EF because corresponding sides are congruent. Then that would also make angle A is equal to angle D, angle B is equal to angle E, and angle C is equal to angle F because corresponding angles are congruent. So I want to pause for a minute. We know that if triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, all of these below are true. We know that if one of these are true, both the others are true. Same with if we know just this one, we know that this is true and this is true. So with solving problems, if you're not given this line of information or this line, but this last line right here, you know that the other two are the hidden hidden information. If you're just given this second piece of information, you know about the first and third one. So I want you to be really quick and memorize that. And here's the geometric language of congruent triangles. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle FDE. AB is equal to FD. AC is equal to FE. BC is equal to DE. Congruent triangles have equal sides. And remember, these are usually in this order. Angle A is equal to angle F, angle B is equal to angle D, angle C is equal to angle E, because congruent triangles have equal angles. So try, as shown in the figure, triangle ABC and triangle ADC are congruent. Please point out the congruent sides and angles of the figure. So the solution here is that triangle ABC, this is initially given, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC. So the congruent sides would be AB is equal to AD. AC, well, that's shared. So AC equals AC, and BC is equal to DC. The congruent angles are that angle BAC is equal to angle BH is equal to angle DAC. Angle B is equal to angle D. Angle ACB is equal to angle ACD. The triangles obtained by transformations to form various new shapes with the original triangles. The triangles are obtained by transformation to form various new shapes with the original triangles. Can you create any different shapes? So these are some ways you can do this. So you see these two congruent triangles right here. You shift them. And I want you to just see this display right here. Remember, these are showing all the ways in problems how there can be congruent triangles. This is how you can shift from one to another. So think about all these different ways how there can be congruent triangles. Now it's time for the class summary. Today we learned all about congruent triangles and congruent figures, two figures that when stacked on top of each other, they overlap perfectly. Congruent triangles, two triangles that when stacked on top of each other, they overlap perfectly. And we learned all about the properties of congruent triangles. Corresponding sides of congruent triangles are congruent. Corresponding vertices of congruent triangles are congruent. The three skills we learned today was understand the concept of congruent triangles, master the representation methods of congruent triangles, and understand and master the properties of congruent triangles. Understand the concepts of corresponding sides and corresponding angles, and being able to accurately find the corresponding sides and corresponding angles of the congruent triangles, and feeling the experience of congruent triangles through observation. So I hope you like the lesson 2 of chapter 10 today, which was all about congruent triangles. You learned something new, and I'll see you next time in the properties of congruent triangles. See you next time.